This is episode 3 of the Heart and Soul of Couples Therapy, Conversations with Jim Thomas, ICEFT Emeritus Trainer. I am Ed Peterson, your host. Today, this episode is called What Sue Johnson Would Want Us to Remember About Enactments. Jim and I dive into this topic, and as always, we do this in loving remembrance of a wonderful human being, Dr. Sue Johnson, the founder of Emotionally Focused Therapy. Enjoy.
Welcome to the Heart and Soul of Couples Therapy, conversations with EFT trainer emeritus Jim Thomas and EFT supervisor Ed Peterson. These conversations are grounded in strength-based emotional work and applied attachment theory. Jim and Ed offer this mix of interactional and experiential learning as a resource to encourage you on your relational therapy journey.
Hello, Jim.
Hey, Ed.
Great to be with you.
Likewise.
I am super excited. The word I use a lot is stoked to be doing this with you. And we've been talking about Sue Johnson, and we've been talking about what she would want us to remember. It's so fun to be jumping into our podcast, The Heart and Soul of Couples Therapy. But Jim, you had an idea this morning talking about the word enactments and talking about, again, what Sue would want us to know. Why don't you take that away?
Yeah, there's two overlapping. One is our first video, we talked about attachment distress being real. Second video that Sue would want us to remember, it is emotionally focused therapy, that couples therapy work, relational work, family therapy at the root. The most basic level is about emotional dances and bonds between people, that we are emotional beings. Let's just start the externship saying, I am an emotional being. We are emotional. We live in an emotional world. We're already starting to co-create an emotional connection in this externship as I look around and see faces looking back. We can't help it. Siegel says, the central nervous system is an open system. Lewis et al., 2003, the limbic system of the social mammal exists, in particular with the human, for the synchronous exchange of emotional states. That still face experiment, Aronson doing the voiceover, even mothers and fathers and infants this age, infants are social beings. They're trying to coordinate their emotions and their intentions. Social baseline theory, Cohen and colleagues say, if I put Ed in a distressing situation where he feels excluded, his cortisol levels will go up. His external body temperature will drop to put energy into the core. He'll have adrenaline, his blood pressure will likely go up. His galvanic skin response would be his heart rate. If I put Ed in a situation where he feels welcome, these same things will happen in the opposite direction, but Ed will not be necessarily conscious of. He needs a certain social baseline. He's a social being. If he goes to like a EFT community event and feels welcome right away, it's a different experience than if no one talks to him. That's human. That's called being an emotional being. And so we have these cycles that couples get into. There's cycles of connection, where it's like, or ooh la la, good, or friends or family, that relaxation that comes. So often when couples get to more stage 2 work, and I'm like, what's that like to turn to your husband, Ben, and say, I don't think you could ever love a man that has so much shame. And he came over closer to you and wiped your tear and said, of course I love you, even with your shame. Oh, I can breathe. My nervous system relaxes. I get calm. That's weird. Like, yeah, it's human. We're meant to have these.
You're already getting me here, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're getting me emotional here, and it's good.
And then we have these distress cycles. I referenced Patrice at this EFT beginnings workshop, and she said, well, maybe we need a different name than negative cycles. They're necessary and unavoidable. I saw Sue and John get into negative cycles. My first trainer retreat, And John had mistakenly given myself and Anna from Finland and Karn from Netherlands, the wrong numerical date. So we thought we flew home Monday and everybody was flying home Sunday. So instead of Sue and John getting to spend the rest of the afternoon and the evening in their cottage in Quebec on the lake, and I mean, when the trainers are there, we're like hungry birds. We want Sue to feed us. We want her attention. We want it. He had to drive her back to Quebec and come back, and I mean back to Ottawa and come back and sort of take care of us for the night. And their bathroom window looked out over the little gravel parking lot, and they got into their negative cycle for about 3 minutes, and it was fairly heated.
Right.
And then they calmed down. They reached for each other. It was rather moving, but I see she meant it when she said we all have these. They're dances of distress. They're emotional, and I think she would want us to remember that these loops that families and couples and people get into are real. They're not abstract, and they can be so painful, so scary. And when it goes well, we calm down, and when we can really connect in some vulnerable way, or connect through a shared interest, connect through, oh my gosh, you remember, like different ways and cultures. You remembered that I love the spinach empanada, and you made spinach empanadas because I was coming home from college. You remember that I care about birds, and you said the such and such bird is migrating. You want to go see if we can find one. These ways that we feel like we're accepted, we belong, we're cared for, and we can care back, and we can give back. This is our human nature. So we go back to our first talk when Sue's saying, I would watch these couples that seem perfectly fine and well put together, and could communicate with me, setting up like an appointment. They're responsible people. They're raising children. They're keeping a home. They have jobs, and all of a sudden in the session, they're like seem so different. What's going on here? So we remember when we look at cycle drawings and stuff, they're maps trying to approximate a territory. And the territory is one. Most often, if someone is coming into our office as an individual with relational problems, they're coming into our office as a couple, or as a primary partners in a poly chain. They're coming to us in family distress. They're estranged from a sibling or a parent. That cycle they get into, that we start to explore, isn't an abstract concept that we can talk them out of.
Right, exactly. Now the fun part for me is to be able to see you and I role play a little bit. And I think you're going to talk
How about enactments is the other side?
yeah, and talk about
You talk about your thoughts. Why did you notice something about Sue and what she does with enactments much earlier than maybe some trainers even train people, or some therapists seem willing to do? What is it you noticed about Sue you shared with me?
Right. Well, it came on the heels of me, first reading Hold Me Tight, going to an externship, jumping in, and having so much desire and so much positive but anxious feeling that I want to get good at this. I want to be good at this. And they started talking about enactments and setting up these situations and getting people to talk to each other in my office. I'd never done that as a therapist, and it was daunting. It was frightening because it felt like, one, how would I set it up? And secondly, once it started, where would I go with it once it started? And so I remember early on seeing Sue work, and one was the military couple, and I've seen her many, many times, where early on in a session, sometimes within 5 minutes, Jim, that Sue is starting maybe some small enactments, but she's getting them talking to each other. And to me, it seems to me to be the key to real present process work is getting the couples talking to each other as soon as possible and trying to overcome this perfectionistic thing that us therapists have sometimes of wanting to create the perfect enactment.
Right.
Trying to make it too safe. Always, we have to make it so safe. Well, I think that we need to trust that we need to start enactments and then see where it goes and see where this dance goes. Because if I, as a therapist, try to control it too much, I think it does damage.
So let's put those two together. So the root, so Sue is influenced by the structural family therapist and Minutia. The influence she owns says a lot by Rogers and um, and systems theory, that these are reciprocal feedback loops people get caught in. What Sue did is go to the heart of it. These feedback loops, etc., are driven primarily by how important these people are to each other, our drive to experience acceptance and belonging, to care and care for, and that we don't outgrow these needs for attachment bonds and social connection. And so Minutia and those colleagues had the idea from doing their early work with families that we need to see it. We need to see it enacted. And so that's part of, we have to let the cycle in the room, as Jim Furrow said at the, I think, 2012 summit in New York, in the hallway. He said, well, we're a model that invites some dysregulation into the room. And it went all around the conference of like, oh my gosh, that's what a radical idea. We invite dysregulation into the room. If we invite too much dysregulation into the room, then it's not a safe place. If we go back to our first talk when Sue's quoting Bowlby and saying, from cradle to grave, life's best experience is a series of excursions out from that secure base back to that safe haven. And that our couples or family therapy needs to be a safe place. So if we just let the, like, I worked with I had a little EAP contract back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when I was still doing agency work, and these railroad workers would come, and this fellow says to me, I noticed, did you know that when the coal trains are going across Colorado, if they get up to about 50, 60 miles an hour and we slam on the brakes, it could take like a half a mile or so for the train to stop. But at 5 miles an hour, I can stop the train at 100 feet. It's physics, boy, he tells me. I've noticed you let me and my partner get up to about 50 miles an hour, and then you try to slow us down and we run you over. I would suggest you stop at 5 miles an hour. So we want to get glimpses of, we don't want to get lost. Our limbic system, our brain, we'll go into judgment, we'll start acting out our family role, got to slow things down. Nice. So Suze borrows this idea, and she borrows the side of it too, where Minutia and some of these family therapists would try to enact something different in the room, get the family system to do something different. And then she adds this lived experience that these couples are caught in distress, cycles, either cycles of distress. And I think what you're saying is brilliant. If we wait too long to do an enactment, maybe we have to borrow from Whitaker, that used to say, I bring up things like hostility and how they deal with these really difficult things in a family in the first session, because I didn't want them to think if I brought it up in the fourth session, it was unique to them. Yeah, right. And all families have to deal with things like hostility in the family. Right. So maybe when Sue starts with an enactment 10 minutes in or 5 minutes in, she's saying, this is just what I do as a therapist. It's no big deal.
Well, we see in Jim, and you showed this in our first 2 sessions, and you've showed it to me many times, is that when we do role plays, you usually have the first enactment be very short, very simple, and you sort of feed it to me. And on purpose, I can tell that you're not wanting me to give a big description. No. You just want me to give a very short.
No. There's a good resource for that. Doug Tilley and Gail Palmer wrote an article about enactments. It's in the Journal of Marriage and Family Therapy. I want to say 2004. I think I have that right. But they talk about clarity, be clear, talk about weaving it into a conversation and beginning in stage 1. But you also notice Sue does not have her couples just talking to each other and then she comes in. They talk to Sue. You go back and watch the tapes. They're rarely just talking to each other unless it has a more stage 2 feel and they've got each other. And then she'll get out of the way. But she's ready to get back in, right? So if we're going to do an enactment, what we're doing is we're exploring something like how difficult it is to be in this relationship. We have this frame that both helps us see it, zoom out a little bit, as a lot of my colleagues would say, zoom out a little. And if I can just start to see what's happening as an attachment distress dance, two emotional worlds bouncing off each other, and they keep doing this, or they keep doing this, or they're doing this. The abstract idea can help slow me down, but I don't want to forget that it's a lived experience and remind myself that when I'm in a bad way with like Patrice, it's bad for me. I don't like it. And she doesn't like it. And we're probably equally distressed. I often see, I used to think back when, you're learning algebra or something and it says 9x equals 3y. And the young brain goes, how could those things that look so different equal each other? And I presume in a couple or family attachment bond that if you're feeling 9 units of distress, your partner's probably feeling 9 units of distress. You're just experiencing them differently, right?
So let's set this up. Let's do it.
Well, let me play off that idea. So one of the things that you'll see Sue do if you watch her work and is she's having people share about what's happening to them, but she's process oriented. She's privileging process over content. She prioritizes primary emotion over secondary. And don't let anybody tell you differently. So you didn't spend a lot of time in people's secondary emotion, organizing it and making sure, et cetera. She said, in every time I saw her train, when I listened to her online and in personal communication and talking about the work, that validate secondary emotion and reactivity to get to primary. She didn't see problems in front of her, problematic people with pathology. She saw people. She would hold on to like, I don't think this is some thing that's a diagnosis or something, unless it just became very apparent that like this person, their anxiety disorder is so high, it's impacting their ability to be in the session or something. She would say, like in her trauma book, sometimes, yes, people need to go get more support, but don't let them get lost there. That the most efficient trauma work is in a relationship with someone they care about. The calmness can bring that anxiety disorder down a bit if I just know I'm safe with you. If you're less reactive to my manic symptoms, then you can help me slow down. It's always for Sue is there's people, not problems. And in the present moment, what you brought up, enactments bring it into the present moment. What's happening to you right now? Can you tell me what's happening? And then we'll have you tell your partner. And we don't expect responsiveness. We don't expect the partner to say, oh my gosh, I feel the same way you do, Jim, about hearing that. Well, they're not my partner and they're not as big a threat to me. I can empathize with you and I can empathize with Karen much easier if I get out of my own way, because you're not my life partners. You're not my sibling. You're not my parent or son or daughter. You're a person I'm in relationship with. But man, we all know this because a client turns to you in the middle of a session and starts really being mad at you. We freeze too, most of us, or we want to fight back. The cycle's in the room now, right? Okay, so we want to build off of Karen and
Let's do it. Yep. Karen and Ed and Karen.
you come back in and you're saying, what would you be venting about? If this is a dance, Jim, I think Karen's responsible. Karen plays the music. Karen told me after the last session the next day, you're not going to get any more time from me while I have this, I've got this project over the next 9 months, something like that.
Like she sets the rules.
Yeah, okay. Say more about setting the rules. What kind of rules? What do you mean?
Well, I mean, I can barely ask for anything. And when I do, I get this very logical answer that's hard to argue with, that she's so tired, and I get it.
Sorry, Karen, you're saying it makes sense to you. It is logical. There's only so much time in the day. I hear that. You've got the
Yeah,
big project. Hang on, I just wanted to, you've got a big project. You got 9 months to get this done. This could result in a big promotion, a lot more resources for the two of you. You'll get 6 weeks vacation. I get it. So there is a logic to what you're saying. You need me to hear that, right? Can I come back to you in a moment? This is important. Um, and just, yeah, I want to just create some space for Ed to be able to tell me more about what's happening on his side. Um, but I do want to come back to your side. So thanks for letting me know what you said. That was important. There is logic to what you're saying. You're not making stuff up. But yeah, you're overwhelmed too, like you said last session. And you're feeling the ouch right now while it talks to me. Okay. Can I come back to the ouch in a bit? Are you sure? Yeah? Pinky swear? Okay. All
yeah,
right. There's some ouches happening there for her while you talk. So I just wanted her to be able to say that to me.
just a quick comment. Let's make sure we don't forget this. I want to make sure at the end that we talk about what you just did there. So
Okay.
yes, we'll
But
go.
let's go back real quick. Can you just say, ouch? That's it. Can you just say, ouch, Dad? Ouch. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah, little watery eyes, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna come back to ouch. Yeah, no, you're not used to saying ouch. Okay. You were talking about she can be control. What was that? You
Yeah,
said
talking about she picks the record, she sets the music, and when she tells me that she's got this big project in 9 months, how can I argue with that? And all I'm saying is I'd like some time to go on a date, like some of your time to ask me some questions, and how am I supposed to argue with her? Because she seems so set, and it just feels like she controls things, Jim.
is it okay with you if I go back to the dance frame? It
Sure.
sounds like, again, you said last time, shitty music, where there's some kind of dance happening here. They can see you experience her in that dance. And it's becoming kind of rigid, this dance, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
like very repetitive. I think we identified there's a pattern. And I'm wondering if, in a way, that your person, Karen, is becoming sort of one dimensional now. You can get the same message back. I don't have anything more to give. I don't have any more time. I don't, of course, these are logical answers I'm giving you. My job is big. This 9 month project is big. Yes, I enjoyed those first few years, but we were young and irresponsible. We could get away with that. I don't have that. Um, and sex has become difficult for the two of you. The sense of like you feel rejected there. She
Yeah.
said something about objectified last week, and you're coming in this, it sounds like when you're venting, would it be fair to say that you're kind of in the dance, trying to get heard? Like I just don't know how to get heard.
If I don't raise my voice, if I don't say something, then I don't feel like I get seen or heard at all.
Yeah, some people say that that anger is and mad is often the emotion of feeling invalidated or not heard or seen. Got to get louder. Get your bullhorn out. Aaron, come
That's
out. Like
I feel stupid, and then I feel embarrassed, like, God,
mm,
why am I so needy,
needy. What do you mean?
Well, just, I mean,
You like time
just,
with Karen?
yeah, why can't I just accept what she has to give me, It's like,
Mm. Have you tried that? Do you
yeah,
try for some time? Say like I'm just gonna pull back and let her be and not, you know.
yeah, I do. And then I always come back to that I feel so lonely. I
Yeah.
try to, it doesn't work.
Lonely is powerful for you. Oh, this is what's a lot is what's happening underneath the surface, right? That It'd be so easy as a therapist to get caught up and maybe teach the two of you communication skills or to compromise, or maybe we could come up with an agreement. If you agree to not give Karen a hard time, she'll agree to devote Sunday to you or something. And but the lonely, that's what I hear. I hear lonely. It's lonely, Jim. I don't know how to reach her and I don't know how to tell her. And I maybe you do get kind of like frustration and mad, at least feel like you can do something, maybe get a reaction.
Or at least in here, like at least I can say stuff and I'm not going to get shut down right away.
But you say stuff at home too, right? To be so that I understand. You try to say things at home, but at home you get shut down.
Yeah,
So,
well, we do. We go round and round on it.
let me see if you can help me capture this like we did last time on the outside. I'm kind of, it sounds like you're telling me I'm trying to get Karen's attention. I'm sort of like banging on a door. She's behind a door or something, and I'm banging on the door and say, Karen. But if you can't get the door to open, you can't connect with her. You're telling me it's sad on the other side of that.
For sure.
Lonely, sad and lonely. Okay.
Yeah.
That maybe when I get really upset, I'm trying to find a way in, get a response so that I can get some like Karen time, like your vitamin K. I need
Right.
my vitamin K.
And the idea that maybe I never will.
Yeah, and then a part of you starts to feel needy. Let's do this a little longer. Can you tell her sometimes I get on myself, I feel needy. Like sometimes I just feel like I'm needy,
Sometimes I do. I feel like I'm needy
but I miss you.
for sure. And I miss you.
And maybe in our cycle or dance, when I get loud, just tell her that. Maybe when I get loud in our
Maybe in our cycle when I get loud,
tell her what's that. What are you hoping for?
I'm hoping that I get time with you.
Yeah, underneath the loud, agitated, the banging on the door.
Well, and that you'd want to.
Yeah, I'm trying to get time with you. Now I'm gonna watch. Now maybe Karen reaches across, squeezes your hand, and says, "I want that too." Let's pretend that happens. Okay, Karen reaches across, squeezes your hand, and says, "I want that too, Ed." What would happen to you?
Um,
Tell her like,
yeah, uh, tell her how it feels right now that
no, no,
she's
just that just happens. She reaches over, man, and she grabs your hand. Reach your hand out. You gotta let her grab it.
she's
She
grabbing.
squeezes it, and says, "I want that too. I want time with you too." If it would melt you a little, maybe you say, "Oh, I'm glad to know that."
Yeah, I'm definitely glad to know that.
Another part might say, but if that was true, how come?
Yeah, or it might be like that. If I was really triggered, it would be like, yeah, well, you're saying that in front of Jim.
Hang on. So let's do that. So when she reached to grab your hand, how's that? Did you like her grabbing your hand?
Yeah,
Because it's an enactment in a way. If Karen reaches for you, she's doing something. I want to pay attention. Okay. Can you tell her I liked you grabbing my hand?
I did. I liked you grab my hand.
And the sound of her voice, it sounded like it was a little quieter, a little more like she said, I like that too. Did you like the sound of her voice?
For sure.
Can you tell her?
Yeah, I like the sound of your voice.
And when she said, I want that too, is that a good message or bad message?
It's a good message if it's
Whether you
true.
believe it or not, whether you believe it or not, or it's
Yeah,
confusing or frustrating. Okay.
yeah.
Real simple. The reach with her hand, the squeeze, the voice changing, and the I want that too. Is that better or worse than what usually happens in your day to day in that cycle?
That's easy. It's so much better.
Oh, this is so much better.
Yeah, this is so much
I
better.
like this a lot.
I like this a lot.
Well, let's go back to your confusion. Is that all right?
Sure.
You're confused by that statement. That's not your lived experience. You're it's puzzling, right? You're going like, I don't understand. If she wants that, then how come?
Yeah, I don't know if I can trust it. I mean,
Right. Scared to trust it. Something
yeah,
different happened though between you for a moment.
well, it's almost like it's weird because I know I've said that that's what I want, but it feels like getting my hopes up that I'll get that almost feels like I'm setting myself up to feel worse.
Yeah, right, right. That's a risk, right? It's risk. You're at risk here in this. You're sharing so much. You said to Karen, I worry maybe I'm needy. I don't like that. I miss you. I'm trying to get time with you. And then Karen said something unexpected and said, I want that too. Now, for teaching, let's say Karen said, time with each other. Why would I want that when you're always mad at me? I want people watching to know these things can go in all sorts of different directions. And if we're just trying to have enactments always be safe, we don't discover this. This was what got Sue curious.
Right.
Attachment distress, right?
And that's the moment I want you to talk about this. First of all, I want you to do it. I want you to show how you would respond to her saying something like,
Well, let's do it. So,
why would I do that? And then, and it's almost that, the thing I told you about Jim, where Sue will say sometimes, well, of course you could.
yeah, that's right. All right. So
Let's try it.
I'll do go both ways. I'll go to Karen first. I'll go to you first because it's the flow. Um, Another way that we can turn enactments to our benefit. So you're gonna say, and I want time with you.
I
So
want time with you. And then she's going to say,
I'll
how
do it. I'll do it. I'll be her voice for a sec. I want time with you.
I want time with you.
Why would I want time with him, Jim? Why would I want time with you when you're mad at me all the time and just pressuring me? Yeah, Ed. I'm look, as upsetting as this is, I'm glad I get to see it. It's hard for you what just happened. You're kind of reaching, you're taking a bit of a risk, you're trying to say something about what's going on. And Karen just said her own complaint from her side of this dance.
I mean,
Yeah, so
why are we even here if that's what she's,
yeah, stay with me, stay with me. Why are we even here? If she says, why would I want to spend time with you when you're always mad at me? What the hell? What the fuck? Yeah, you said the F word, right? You dropped the bomb. Well, the emotional brain tends to like cuss words. Yeah, stay with me, stay with me. Let's talk about what's happening. All right, so I'd stay with you, but for time, let's go the other way. Karen says it. You do this. She says, "Why would I want to spend time with you?" And Ed, can I want to go over and explore with Karen. Karen, can you tell me more about? Oh, he's he's pretty upset. He was saying Monday and Tuesday, why are we even going to therapy on Wednesday? We've been doing this for a few weeks and nothing's changing. That you're stubborn. That maybe you tricked him into the marriage because you wanted somebody to take care of your house and stuff. He feels more like a dog sitter than a husband. And you guys were in it, huh? You were in your cycle. You were caught bad. She kind of meant what you said. It's hard. He makes a little reach. He says, I miss you. Did you mind him saying he misses you? No, that was okay. Can you tell him that? I liked you saying you missed me. Okay, but what was it about I want time with you? That sounded different, huh? Oh, it implies that it's all your problem, that all you have to do is create time and then everything's better. Can I explore that with you a little bit? Does this happen a lot in this dance? Is it at the root when you guys are in this? This is what happened in the last couples therapy. You were the bad person. You were ruining the relationship. Yeah.
just time out. See, that was brilliant. And this is why I think that was brilliant is you, without them saying it, you were able to tease out blame.
Yeah.
And that's important because that was something that you brought to the table right there that I think is important. And that's just, and because if I were Karen, like that would feel like, oh, he's seeing the fact that I get blamed all the time.
All right. So let me try to, so in the interest of time, maybe let's say I've spent 8 minutes with her. I'm trying to get to something. She had few more little enactments. You're kind of still looking like we're running close to the end of this session. Can you tell him what you just told me, that on the outside, yes, you get defensive because on the inside, you your experience is you're failing. The message you're getting is you're failing as a partner. You could. Then she turns and she's an emotional withdrawer. And as a lot of my wise colleagues would say, because she's in an experience, she gets more emotional with you than me and says, on the outside, Ed, I get defensive because on the inside, I feel like what you're telling me is I'm a failure as a partner and that I'm just selfish. I don't care about you. And that's hard. Now you have to imagine what this would be like to hear that from Karen.
It'd be,
So wait one moment. Karen, was it like to say that out loud? Can you tell that? I'm very, very worried about saying this to you because I think you're going to just focus on time. But it's true what I just told Jim. I feel really blamed. Like in the last therapy, that if it was just me, if I was just wanting more time with you, we'd be fine. But you get pretty mean and say some hurtful things to me, and nobody seems to care about that. Ed, what's this like? Karen shared. Does she usually get this vulnerable at home?
no,
Hard to hear.
good. No, it's good to hear.
Can you tell her this is good to hear?
This is good to hear. It's nice to, it's nice to see you emotional.
This is tough. What's so clear to me watching you now for a few weeks is how tethered you are to each other, how much attention you pay to each other, how you pick up the slightest change in tone, the words, the cues, voice, and that reactivity, which in this funny way, my colleague Sue who wrote this book, if she was still here, would say, Jim, that reactivity is a reflection of a bond. But that knowledge that what's happening to maybe reflects distress in your emotional bond alone won't get you out of this cycle. We're going to have more of these moments. This little moment where the two of you just got a little vulnerable with each other. Do you like this better, Ed?
Yeah.
That he said, good to hear. Is that better? What we're going to do over time is we'll have more and more of these moments. And then over time, we'll get to some deeper experiences with each other. We're going to feel really held by each other, but you're not ready yet. I don't think you can do that on your, maybe you'll do it on your own, but experience says we have to do some more prep work. And that what'll happen is at some point, you'll start to be able to find this place sort of out beyond right and wrong, that field that Rumi invites us to meet in. You'll start to find that on your own, and then I can back out of the process. But what you told me about your families and stuff growing up, I don't think anybody modeled this or encouraged this. So you kind of need an emotional wilderness guide. That's what's happening when yeah, that's right. We're slower in here, Karen. That's right. That's right, Ed. There's less chance to argue in here. That's right. We're all showing up a little differently. And it's on me to be responsible for that process part. Just keep coming in as you are.
So, is it okay if we go out of the role play?
Yeah, sure, sure.
I think we're at about the time where we should wrap up. I think that I'll give two thoughts and then you could give maybe a closing thought, or two. Uh, so again, we're really, for me, Jim, just trying to gather myself. We're honoring Sue Johnson in
What
these.
you want us to remember,
Let's remember. I feel very close to her, and you know, the one thing that's jumping out from this role play and what you did was this sense of that. Well, yeah. Here's the part. This was the most impactful, especially when you were working with her. and when you were working with me, I could tell that you were listening for the primary emotion. You were validating, you weren't skipping over, my anger or her anger or her, blame or the more secondary. You were addressing them, but it felt like you were always addressing the secondary emotion with the intent of finding what might
Yes.
be softer next to it, which I think is key because even now, especially when I was a younger, less experienced EFT therapist, I would spend too much time paying attention and talking to them about how angry they are and how much they blame the other person. And I would unwittingly be actually inviting too much of the cycle. And so I feel like you're showing therapeutic leadership in a healthy way. And through your words and mostly just the way you did it, you're showing them that in this room, in your therapy room, there's a chance at least to do this different.
That's right. But go back to the Matt and Rhea DVD if you have it, if you bought the recording, and there's this consult video ahead of it. And Jordan is showing a clip where Matt and Ray are heated, find the bad person, highly reactive cycle about Christmas lights. And then you hear Sue say, "Stop, whoa, 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 whoa." And then she turns to the therapist and the audience and says, "Well, never, no, no, too much, too much, too much. Got it, whoa. You get enough to know, and then you slow it down. We don't want them coming in and repeating their cycle over and over again. And there'll be enough times when it's so intense that they are going to get reactive. And when we do slow them down, we're not forbidding it. Then they just do it at home. But she says, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then she teaches about going below that reactivity. She doesn't say, I would spend a couple sessions having them explore why they react that way and explore their healthy anger and start sharing their frustrations and start saying what they need from each other from this place. It's whoa, whoa, whoa. And then listen to what she says afterwards and see the inter-rater reliability between what I'm encouraging and what she's saying. And so, yeah.
So Jim, say that one more time that Sue said, you get enough to.
You have to feel it. You have to, like Minutia and the structural therapist, we've got to experience it a bit, but we don't live in it. We don't, our sessions are not a place for them to be in their cycle reacting to each other. They'll still be in their cycle, but we don't need the reactivity in the room. We
Yeah,
don't need them going into terror.
yeah, it's almost like that she's saying, like, if all of my reactivity and all my content is 100%, seems like when I just share 20 or 25% of it, that's enough where she would say, whoa, you're saying so many important things that
Right.
we can understand them.
And then she goes towards the emotional theme of those things. There's some emotional reactivity happening in the room for a minute or two, and then she goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. She's saying to the therapist in that clip, I would have let the Christmas light argument start, but 30, 40, maybe a minute in, I'd be like, okay, whoa, I think I'm getting it. I think I'm getting it. Let's go explore. You look so shut down today. I'm not going to let you just be shut down the whole session. I'm going to come over and find out what's got you shut down. What you said, always going back to the primary emotion. These are attachment distress relationships that are happening in a relationship, and it's real and it's there for a purpose, and we're there to explore it. Emotion is the focus and the agent of change. These cycles are lived experiences, and we have them enact and share parts so that they can start to put together, like you said, when I start to see that my mad and sad go together, I start to understand and expand my emotional experience in these cycles. This is the direction I want to go in. Let's do one more clip today, and it'll be our shortest one. I think you'll like it. I think we're done for this topic.
Boy, this was great, Jim. I think we are done. I look forward to next time.
All right.
Thanks for tuning in to the heart and soul of couples therapy. Be sure to like and subscribe to catch all of our upcoming episodes. Jim Thomas operates the private practice Institute for Change in Lakewood, Colorado. You can contact Jim through his website at www.jimthomas.care or by email at instituteforchange981@gmail.com. Ed Peterson and his partner Candace Peterson operate Peterson Family Therapy based in the Salt Lake City area. Ed can be reached through his website at www.petersonfamilytherapy.com or by email at peterson.ed.lcsw@gmail.com. All content is copyrighted and is intended for the use of mental health professionals and graduate students. Any use of this material without the express written consent of its owners is prohibited.